Welcome everyone to the fifth edition of the Deep Thirds Football Podcast. My name is Randy Hammond. I am joined this morning, this very early Saturday morning, especially for my co-host here, Matt Bushnell. Matt, how are you doing this morning?
Randy, the sun's not out yet, but I am, so I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, it's not that early when it comes to raising a whole entire roster of future Chicago Bears. They tend to wake you up earlier than you'd like most of the time anyway, I imagine, right?
Yeah, they can't be worse than the real Chicago Bears.
Yeah, well, not as early as here in upstate New York, but it is 10 degrees. It is freezing, but it is nice in my apartment. So we're going to get going here. We have a great show planned for all of you. We have a complete breakdown of Super Bowl LIV. If you don't understand Roman numerals, that is Super Bowl 54. We will argue about who is more to blame in this game, which we will, spoiler alert, it's between two of the main people who helped lose the game for the 49ers. And then we will talk about some of our memories of the Super Bowl and who we were most happiest for this current Super Bowl and our rival Super Bowl champions, which is an interesting topic. And then we might give you a little teaser on who we think could be playing this game a year from now. So, Matt, this game, I think we all came in with the expectation that this was an all-time Super Bowl matchup. We really loved the speed of the offense versus the speed of the defense. We loved all of that coming in. And I think the first quarter, really, there was some exciting moments. There were some big hits. There was some miscues, obviously. We talked about that lack of discipline from the Chiefs. But first quarter here, we had a 7-3 lead for the Chiefs after a 1-yard touchdown run from Patrick Mahomes. What did you think of how the first quarter shook out?
I thought the 49ers had a really good game plan. Mahomes looked like he had a really hard time setting his feet. He didn't feel 100% comfortable. He was still able to make some plays. And what they were able to do offensively for the Chiefs was try to really, I guess, geared a little bit more towards the run than the pass is what I saw. And I thought Damian Williams had a really strong first quarter, picking up first down after first down, and then Mahomes showing his mobility with the legs. And I mean, I expected more of an offensive showing from the Chiefs, but overall it wasn't bad from what we saw. And I think the 49ers defense had something to hang their hat on.
Yeah, I really think that they did a really good job of pressuring Mahomes often throughout a lot of this game. And Mahomes kind of felt like he was running for his life a lot of the time. But he was still able to make some plays. But overall, it was kind of a slow start. They went 3-and-out, and then the Niners come down and kind of stall in field goal range, settle for a field goal, go up 3-0. But then that second drive for the Chiefs, it was kind of like, yeah, we're still the Chiefs. They kind of do this thing every game where they start off slowly. They make some like bonehead mistakes. They might have some drops. They had some penalties like they always do. But overall, I think that the Mahomes play for me in the first quarter was scary because he was running. He was in the first down territory. Instead of sliding, he kind of takes a guy head on. I forgot who made the hit. But then the ball comes flying out. And unfortunately for the Chiefs, it lands out of bounds. But I had a big problem with the broadcast at this point where they showed the hit, they showed the replay, they showed the ball going out of bounds, but they didn't tell you if it was a first down or not. They came back after the commercial break. I understand Super Bowl commercials are why people watch, but at that point in the game, like, is it a first down or not? Is it fourth? Are they kicking a field goal? Are they going for it? Like, what's the deal here? So I had a big problem in that moment of not knowing what the call was. So what did you think? Did you think Mahomes was a little reckless there?
I think, and we were kind of referencing it from the Water Boy, it's the last game of the year. You don't hold anything back.
We know.
So I'm good with it. I thought it was a great play. You have to be aggressive in those situations. It's one of those things where you heard on the broadcast later on, you don't know how many chances you're going to get at this thing. So you have to take advantage of all the chances you get. And, you can't hold anything back.
That's a very good point. I was worried about that at the time. Obviously, the Chiefs go for it on fourth down and get it. I believe Damian Williams picks that up, and then Mahomes obviously gets the rushing touchdown. Second quarter is kind of a flip situation where the Chiefs start off with a field goal, a 31-yarder from Harrison Butker to go up 10-3, and then the Niners get going here on offense. They had a good game. They had a good drive, mixing up run and pass, which leads to a 15-yard touchdown pass to the fullback, who the Niner fans would have loved us to talk about all year long, Kyle Juszczyk, diving into the end zone for the first touchdown of the game for the 49ers. And at this point, Jimmy G looked pretty good. It was a tie game at 10-10. What'd you think?
Well, I'll say this. I think one of the turning points was when Jimmy G threw that interception and the Chiefs only got a field goal out of it because then you felt the
Yeah.
momentum shift. I kind of felt if the Chiefs would have scored a touchdown, the floodgates would have opened up a little bit. But
Yeah.
that drive, Jimmy G really came back. And what 49er fans will point to all year is what happens after the interceptions. And Jimmy G definitely has
Mhm.
that short memory where it's like, okay, I made
Yeah.
the pick, but let me go back. And he made some spectacular throws on a couple of plays. I wasn't really overwhelmed, but he played solid for that drive. And the Chiefs defense really showed no ability to stop the run. I mean, the misdirection killed them, undisciplined gap integrity. I mean, we talked about in the
Mhm.
Super Bowl podcast. I mean, if the Chiefs were not going to play gap integrity defense, they were going to get gashed. And the undisciplined nature of how this team plays showed up quite a bit in this game.
Yeah, and especially in that drive because they made a play and well Jimmy made a bad throw but they intercepted it and it seemed to have momentum on their side at that point in time, and it almost feels like that they got a little full of themselves at that point. Like we we got this. Jimmy G's not ready for this moment, and that's probably why myself and many people who weren't sold on the Niners didn't love them in this situation, didn't love them all playoffs. Is that Jimmy G made these crucial mistakes time and time again, but to the Niners fans' credit, they always said, the interceptions do not define him. He comes back and has a short memory, and I think playing for the Patriots all those years and learning from Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and that sort of thing is what makes champions exist. Like having that short memory where you make a critical mistake and like instead of going on the sidelines and dwelling about it, you're like, all right, let's go back on the field, let's go make a play, what do we got to do, let's go. And that's a football mindset, that's a life mindset. So that's a credit to Jimmy Garoppolo to come back and to really make a drive there out of that. But the controversy in the second half before we got into the halftime obviously was towards the end with the Niners get the ball back with I believe 2 minutes or so and a chance to take the lead. And Jimmy G makes an incredible throw to George Kittle up the right sideline. And Kittle makes the catch and he gets tackled, I think, inside the 20-yard line. I'm not exactly sure the exact specifics of the yardage or anything like that, but it was a big play. It was chunk play. But then the flag comes out and they get Kittle for pass interference when he extended his arm. And to me, after not calling that for in the Vikings game against the Saints at the end, it's hard to accept that they can make that call and justify it. But the letter of the law, once you extend your arm, it is that play. I didn't think that the linebacker moved. What did you think?
I felt that it was offensive pass interference by the nature of the rule. I mean, if you're going to have it in writing that once that elbow extends and you push off, it did affect the safety, I believe, or the linebacker, whoever was covering Kittle in that situation. It needed to be called. It was called. I don't necessarily agree with the rule as how it's written, and I think that's a big issue the NFL has to address this offseason. Um, the pass interference review, being able to challenge it. I don't think it's worked well. I think it's been lackluster at best, and there are some situations where it had impacts on games where they could have called it and they challenged it and it didn't get overturned. It didn't get reversed. So I'm not a fan of the penalty itself because it's so black. It's not black and white. It's gray. There's too much gray in that pass interference, and that would have definitely changed. I think the outcome of the game, to be honest with you, because that was such a huge play to go into halftime.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that they don't come away with points there. If not a touchdown, even, and it's hard to think that if they don't score a touchdown, it could change the outcome of the game. I don't like blaming refs. I think football is a game that is decided amongst the players. Refs don't control the outcome of the game because the Niners still had time after that play, and they kind of mailed it in, and it was kind of disappointing because the Niners went into halftime with timeouts in their pocket. And what I don't understand that decision to not be aggressive still.
Yeah.
You just had a big play kind of taken from you, and instead of still like what, forget that. We still got a minute and a half. We still got two timeouts. Let's go try to get a field goal here. They ran the ball a couple times and they didn't even use any of their timeouts. I don't understand that thought process. Did you?
I think it spoke volumes about how Shanahan feels about Jimmy Garoppolo. If you don't trust your quarterback enough to make plays, then you got the wrong quarterback. And it's kind of interesting, and we'll touch on it later on in the second when we talk about the second half. But yeah, it showed right there a lack of faith in Jimmy Garoppolo from his head coach.
It's just shocking to me. I mean, I think that even if you ran the ball a few times and called timeouts and still tried to get a big play, like set up a play action pass or something, I think that you could have had a chance for a 3-point game. And last game of the year, I don't know why you're holding anything back at this point. um, I know that that play was something that a lot of us disagreed with the call, but at the same time, like there's still time on the clock. You know, momentum is everything in football, especially. You were getting the ball back at the start of the third quarter, and I was really disappointed that they just kind of like, you know what, that's the play that we wanted and it didn't work out. We're going to go to halftime tied here. We were okay with that. And especially Shanahan after the game said he didn't regret any of his decisions there. And to me, that's a little questionable, but I don't know.
Definitely.
I didn't love that, but I guess I'm not the one coaching the game. I'm not the one coming up with the game plans or the play calls or anything like that. So this brings us to the all important halftime of the Super Bowl, which is much longer than a normal football halftime show for many reasons. This time, the Super Bowl tends to go all out for halftime shows. Besides the last couple of years, I thought they were lackluster. This Super Bowl halftime show, I truly thought they brought it. They brought it to the region of the world that they were in. Matt, what did you think of the performance of J-Lo and Shakira?
Overall, I mean, I liked it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Super Bowl halftime shows. I thought it fit the the scene, you know, the area, Miami, with that Latin vibe. I mean, it checked a lot of boxes for me, and I dug it for the most part. I just love this J Lo Shakira feud. I mean, J Lo just seems to hate her, and I cannot figure out why.
You know what? I didn't get that sense on TV, but I've read about this, and it's kind of weird that they were kind of paired together to do the show if they have real life beef like that. So, as far as the performance goes, you can't tell me that it wasn't entertaining. I mean, I'm not. I love the art of dance, like the aspect of like choreographed dancing, especially in large groups like that. I thought Shakira was incredible in that aspect. Obviously, like their music is older and these songs came out 20 years ago or 15 years ago, but they brought it on the dance floor. Like they like Shakira especially did this like Colombian dance that was like super regional, like super to her culture, and it was like unreal. The footwork, like even as football fans, we can appreciate that sort of thing. And then J Lo, I mean, I don't think either of them are singing live. I think both of them kind of admitted that they weren't. But as far as the performance goes, and as far as like entertainment goes, it's hard to not like what you saw. Um, Tanner brought up the like I don't know what that was, but apparently that was some sort of cultural reference for Shakira.
Okay,
Um,
that makes sense.
yeah. But I loved it. I mean, I think a lot of people loved it for a lot of different reasons. A-Rod in the crowd partying with his fiance, I thought was pretty cool. I didn't think he was going to be amongst the crowd, but I guess those people are placed there. They're not like actual fans, so I think he probably wasn't in any real danger. I think considering the last couple of years, you had Maroon 5 and you had Justin Timberlake. This one really raised the bar for me from an entertainment standpoint. I'm excited to see if they continue this trend and getting someone that can entertain from a musical standpoint and from a dancing and perspective. Anyone in the future you have your mind on that you would like to see?
Not really. I kind of like the modern stuff. I don't mind the new stuff. I know you get a lot of complaints, and the Super Bowl. What's so interesting about I find comments about halftime shows is just the dynamic and difference of the audience, because rarely do you see an event that captures older audiences, middle-aged audiences, and younger audiences. So I don't think you're ever going to get a consensus like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. But you know, I like different flavors. I like you said, I love the choreograph. I thought the dance was excellent. But for me personally, I mean, just keep on rocking it out with these new artists, some old artists, mix it in, young and new. I love all of it.
Yeah, I've been leading the charge here on this person doing a halftime show for years, and I know Tanner, who's watching, especially, is going to love this. My fiance is the biggest Taylor Swift fan you'll ever meet, and I have been dragged to a concert before, and admittedly liked it more than I thought I was going to. and it might be getting dragged to one this summer as well. And I think she would put on an incredible show. I think she has a lot of music a lot of people know and like, and I just think that she would do a great job. And the reason that she hasn't done it in the past is because she has a sponsorship with Coke, but now she's no longer sponsored by Coke, so now she can do the Pepsi halftime show. So put me in for Taylor Swift doing the Super Bowl 55 halftime show, and I am very excited for that.
Yeah, hey, I'm good with that. I mean, one of the best-selling artists of all time already, and how old is she? Not even 30?
I
Yeah, let's
think
go
she
with it.
just turned 30. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with it. Um, so after that exciting halftime show, I really thought the Chiefs might have enjoyed it a little too much because the Niners came out and did what they did. They ran the ball effectively. They controlled the entire third quarter, and they really started pulling away. And this is the point of the game where I truly thought that this game was getting away from the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes threw a bad interception. I believe both of his interceptions were in the third quarter. The first one, not seeing Fred Warner in front of Kelsey, which I thought was a bad misread. And then the other one coming in with a throw behind Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill probably could have caught the ball, but it was still a bad throw behind him. And the Niners, they did their thing. They ran the ball. They controlled the clock. They had an effective game plan. Juszczyk almost gets in the end zone again, making an effort for that MVP spot, which would have been crazy. But the Niners kind of go up. They go up 20-10. And Mostert gets the touchdown there in the third quarter. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that the Niners were pulling away in this third quarter here, and I really thought they were gonna run away with it in the fourth. What did you think about the quarter after halftime?
I just thought the 49ers came out, and once again, that defense kept Mahomes agitated in the pocket. Like, he never had that comfort level. It wasn't the Patrick Mahomes that we saw, and really, this was the best defense that Mahomes was going to face all year. And it was interesting. Before the game, I saw a stat for Mahomes. He was 7-0 going into this game against defenses ranked in the top 5 in his entire career. Now he's 8-0 against the top defenses in the NFL. So it really speaks volumes about his game. But I think this was the best defense he's seen in his career, with that front four being able to get pressure on him, which they did routinely. The Hill pick is interesting because I kind of looked at that play a little bit back and forth, and I thought Mahomes was trying to protect Hill, but the timing was off, and that's because he didn't get his feet set on this drop.
Mm-hmm.
As he should have threw the ball a little bit quicker. Hill would have caught it. It wouldn't have been an interception. But I thought that was the backbreaker. I was like, man,
100%.
I was like, you can't turn the ball over in the red zone. At least you come away with a field goal at worst, and that gives you're down by a touchdown. The Warner pick, it just goes again. He never was comfortable. He didn't see the coverage. He was trying to rush his progressions, and he threw the ball before he should have. And my hat gets tipped to the 49ers. The run game, once again, you come out, and the Chiefs just kept on showing an inability to stop the run. I thought a big play was when Jimmy Garoppolo missed Kittle, and he threw it to either Deebo Samuel or Emmanuel Sanders, and then it became 4th and 2 instead of a first down to Kittle, which I don't know. I mean, if Kittle could have got more yards, you could be looking at, a 24-10 ball game, and that changes the complexion a little bit.
No question about it. And like you mentioned, I think a big part of that second interception to Hill is that the Chiefs were driving, and they at the very least were going to get a field goal from that. And you felt down 10 after that interception that there was no coming back from that. Like, it's like, okay, if the Niners come down and even get a field goal, like, yeah, you're still down 2 scores and you're down 13. Like, you're not completely out of it. But if they came down and scored a touchdown, this game is over. And, that would have been, I mean, it was a backbreaker at the time. You truly felt like the game was slipping through the Chiefs' hands, especially, like, at least I did anyway. That happened pretty late, if I like halfway through the third quarter or so. But that's when the Chiefs' defense started to turn up. They got 4 consecutive stops after that and really shut down the Niners. The Niners wouldn't score again after that, I don't think. I mean, after that Mostert 1-yard touchdown run, the Niners didn't score the rest of the game. So after getting dominated by the run, the Chiefs were like, you know what? We got this. We're not doing this. And I think we'll get to this in a little bit. The Niners gave the Chiefs a little bit of help on that. But anyway, insert to the fourth quarter now. The Chiefs desperately needed to do something here. They desperately needed to make a play. Patrick Mahomes Patrick Mahomes finally started to play well. And here we are later in the game. He hits Travis Kelce after for a 1-yard touchdown pass to close the gap to 20-17. And he made some key plays on this drive here in the fourth quarter. What did you think?
I think this is the point where Mahomes just finally got over what he was feeling, the imaginary pressure in his head, because I think he was so worried and believed so much of the hype of this 49ers pass rush that, he was like concentrating on, all right, let me get rid of the ball quick. Let me get rid of the ball quick. Let me get rid of the ball quick. And then he finally settled in. It took him a long time to get settled in. But once they scored that touchdown, I felt this game's over with, because this was the Chiefs that I saw. He was making great reads. He wasn't feeling the imaginary pass rush. He was getting set in the pocket. His feet were solid. His felt comfortable, and you saw that pass to Kelce, and he made a lot of big plays that drive that I was thoroughly impressed with, as usual, with Patrick Mahomes, not his dad, not to be confused with his dad, but there was some plays there that I saw like, okay, he's comfortable again, and you felt that tidal wave starting to come.
Yeah, I think like to I mean, we don't criticize Patrick Mahomes an awful lot for obvious reasons, but I think one of the things that you could point, when he feels pressure, he tends to backpedal a lot. And I know that his arm strength is good enough to overcome that sort of thing, but that really bothers me every time he backpedals. I'd much rather have him roll to the right or roll to the left so that he could run. When he backpedals, I think he gets himself into trouble sometimes. But the key play here, and there's two key plays, especially on this drive that were saving the game. Damian Williams chips Nick Bosa, and then rolls out to the flat, and Mahomes hits him, and his extra effort to get the first down, where he spins off of a tackler and then dives for the first down, which I thought was an MVP type of play in itself, considering the rest of his game. But then his play, 3rd and 15, he throws the ball to Tyreek Hill, which is supposed to be a first down. They challenge it. They show that Tyreek Hill drops the ball, and it is not a first down. So it's 3rd and long, 3rd and 15, which I'm not saying is like an insurmountable distance to gain, especially with the Chiefs. We've seen time and time again they can make that look easy when most teams couldn't even get 3 yards in that situation. Pat Mahomes, I mean, it's an underthrow, but to give Tyreek Hill the space to get underneath it, and I don't know what the Niners were doing leaving him wide open in that situation, considering how he's burned them all game. That is the play of the game. And I think when you look back at the history of the Super Bowl, and you go back and you're going to look at this game, and you're going to be like, that is the game. That is the play that changed this game. At 3rd and 15, if they don't get this, they have to go for it on 4th. The pressure's on. They don't get that. This game is over. That set up the touchdown from Kelce. And I think that 3rd and 15, not the greatest throw ever, but he felt pressure. He lofted it up there, gave Tyreek Hill room to run underneath it and make a play. I don't know about you, but I think that was the key play of this whole game.
I would say it's one of the key plays, probably in the top 3 for sure. Definitely up there with the Kittle pass interference call, because that definitely changed some complexions as well, and we'll get to the other play later. The 49ers defense, when they were mixing up their coverages and their blitzes, I kind of felt if this team sat back in cover 3, they were going to get shredded. And you saw a lot of plays. Like the 49ers played a lot of man-to-man this game, and I thought it was a smart move. Even though you're worried about Sherman a little, obviously they rolled the safety over to help him when Hill was going against them. But when they sat back in zone, outside of that Warner interception, Mahomes really felt like he could pick spots and really start shredding them. And in the fourth quarter, I thought the 49ers sat in zone way too much. I didn't like it, and I would have brought more pressure. You saw Mahomes get happy feet. Don't let him get comfortable. Once he gets comfortable, you're in for a long game.
Yeah, that was frustrating to me too, that they didn't keep bringing the pressure, and I think that they had success making Mahomes uncomfortable for 3 quarters and truly knocking him off of his game, and I think that was so important because Mahomes wasn't himself for the first 3 quarters, and I think that they had so much success with the front 4 and the front 7 bringing pressure, making him miss reads, backpedaling, making some questionable decisions, but Patrick Mahomes came alive in the fourth quarter, did everything that we thought he could do. But after that 20-17 moment, game's still not won. You still have to make some plays. And this is when, I'm not the biggest Richard Sherman guy, but Sammy Watkins absolutely toasts him off the line of scrimmage and beats him for a big play to set up in the red zone. I believe it was a 40-yard pass, a dime from Mahomes too. And it was Sherman, who we've always said, he's a great zone corner, but he cannot man up. And when he does man up, it tends to be on the bigger possession receivers. And Watkins said after the game that he watched Devontae Adams have success against Richard Sherman with the Packers, and just clean break, just not even like once the snap, he had him beat. And credit to Sammy Watkins for coming up big in that moment, and it was a great throw from Mahomes too. That would lead to a Damian Williams 5-yard touchdown catch, which I didn't think was a touchdown live, and especially after the replay was questionable to me. But the call on the field is the situation there where once you make a call and you don't have the camera angles to overturn it, a lot of times in the NFL, especially with replay, they will not overturn it. Did you think that was a touchdown?
I'm kind of with you on this, where you didn't know. On the field, I couldn't tell. On the replay, I couldn't tell. And I've been harping on this for so long that I don't understand why the technology isn't there, where you put a microchip in the ball and you have
Yeah.
some sort of sensor on that goal line there. So it triggers something, and the fact that this multi-billion-dollar business can't figure this out, it's just amazing to
Exactly.
me. Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm pretty sure that it's not as simple as I'm making it out to be, but you print your own money. How come you can't fix this problem? We see it in game after game after game during the regular season. Playoff games are decided by this. The Super Bowl could very well have been decided by this. Instead of 24-20, it could have been 20-20 because they got to kick the field goal, because obviously you can be aggressive in certain situations, but you got to tie the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So to go back to the play, was it a touchdown? Wasn't it a touchdown? I don't know, but I know there's a solution to this problem, and I'm not sure if the NFL wants to come up with that answer.
And I think they want us to talk about it more afterwards, right? I think that might be part of
Absolutely.
the problem here. What did you think about the Watkins play? You think that was a key moment in this game as well? Because I tend to think it was.
Anytime a corner gets called out by his peers, and Jarrell Reeves has called him out. A lot of corners have called out Sherman for his covering abilities. And Sherman, if you're going to talk a lot, which I don't have a problem with, I love trash talkers. I
Mm-hmm.
have a problem when you can't back it up. You can't go around calling yourself the best corner in football when you can't man up against guys.
Yeah.
In Seattle, he was protected by the cover three. San Francisco, they play a lot of cover three to protect him, and their secondary overall. Watkins just showed like, hey man, I can beat you with pure speed. And I think Sherman was so scared of the speed, he didn't want to jam these guys. I think you saw a lot of the game where Sherman was definitely trying to protect himself in this game to make sure that he wouldn't get toasted, and Watkins ended up toasting him. And great dime ball by Mahomes. Once again, I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty amazing that this is the norm with Mahomes. Like, okay, I've seen you make better throws than this.
Yeah. And I mean, it was a rope too. I mean, he saw the clean break right away, let him get some space in between the safety and Sherman, and just dropped it right in there. It was beautiful. Sherman, to your point, with Seattle, was protected by the cover three, also protected a lot by Earl Thomas, one of the best safeties in the league for half a decade. I mean, he was blessed to have that sort of protection as well. I'm not taking away his greatness. I do think he is a great player, but a lot of times it's fun to kind of shove it back in the mouth where it came from to begin with. So, yeah, never a great cover corner, never great like man-to-man guy. I think there's value in taking away a part of the field, but when you have a glaring issue with covering speed, which is all the game is now with the outside talent, especially with the Chiefs. You saw Tyreek Hill have a big game. Sammy Watkins in that big moment just was like, I'm faster than you. I'm quicker than you. I'm going to beat you on this play, and there's nothing you can do about it. And obviously, it's a big problem. So that was not, the end of the game, of course. And the Niners had a chance to come down and to win the game here, and they had a drive stall, which again had questionable play call decisions and a big miss from Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think you want to elaborate more on this, but he had Emmanuel Sanders open on a post downfield, who beat he had the safety and the corner both beat. And if Jimmy even if underthrows him a little bit, it could have been a pass interference, but he overthrew him by probably 10 yards. And, that could have changed the entire game. If Jimmy G had a little Tom Brady in him, he could have made that play. What do you think?
Man, this is so textbook, and you're taught this, maybe advanced high schools that know how to do it, and definitely at the college level. I mean, you can underthrow a guy in those situations,
Mhm,
but you got to give your guy a chance to catch the ball. I mean, both the safety and
mhm,
the cornerback had their backs turned to the football. They knew they got beat. If Jimmy G just underthrows that a tad, which would be fine, Sanders can
yeah.
stop. He's going to get run over by the safety or the corner, and it's going to be defensive pass interference in that situation because the
Mhm,
momentum of those guys were trying to catch up to Sanders, and they weren't going to catch up to him. Um,
mhm,
those plays are so important. You know, you can't miss those, and it feels like you saw. Um, I didn't see Lamar Jackson miss a bunch of those. I didn't see Deshaun Watson miss a bunch of those. I don't see Patrick Mahomes miss any of those. Um, to be an elite quarterback and to be in that upper echelon, like we talked about in the Super Bowl show, I never felt like Jimmy Garoppolo was a top 12 quarterback in this league. And I think this game kind of cemented my belief in what he is. And to what we talked about in the first half, for Shanahan not to have any faith in him in the first quarter, to keep those timeouts in his back pocket, and then to let him just air it out in this quarter was kind of baffling to me a little bit. But you got to make that throw. I mean,
mhm.
you have to give your guy a chance, and not even to give Sanders a chance was egregious.
Yeah, like you said, I think that even make a play, throw it a little behind him to get the pass interference and get the spot of the ball at the 5. At that point, you got 4 chances at the goal line to take the lead and win the Super Bowl. I mean, at that point, there's not a lot of time left, and I think that I mean, you can't make that. You cannot overthrow him there. It's a huge moment. I think that you saw throughout the game as the game progressed and as the Chiefs started to come back. Jimmy Garoppolo got worse. He had, I mean, through 3 quarters, you could have made the case that he was the MVP of this game. And then late in third quarter and fourth quarter, he was 3 of 11 with an interception, only like 40 so yards. Um, I think that I mean the pressure that the Chiefs are putting on him was immense too. But I brought this up to you before the show that Chris Jones might not have had the best game from a statistical standpoint, but he had 4 batted balls on Jimmy Garoppolo, and all of them were over the middle passes to I think Kittle were all of them. So when he misses a throw that could have been a first down to Kittle and he's throwing it on a slant to Sanders or to Debo, it's because Chris Jones is a gigantic human being and he has already batted down a few of those passes. And I think when you look back and it's 3rd and 4 and all you need is a 5-yard slant to get a pass, but also Kittle is in the middle of the field running a hook and he's wide open and he has an easy first down and then some. But it's in your mind that big number 95 is right there. He could be batting your pass down and then that play is over. I think Chris Jones doesn't get enough credit for his impact on this game because, like I said, not a lot of tackles, not a lot of like pressures or sacks or anything, but the deflected balls. I mean, time and time again, he would just realize he's not getting there, stay home base, and get his hands up. You're taught that as a defensive lineman, day one. So credit to Chris Jones in that situation. Jimmy Garoppolo would finish 20 of 31 for 219 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Um, Only a 69 quarterback rating. Nice. Patrick Mahomes named MVP of this game was 26 of 42, 286 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. But again, I mean, the Niners would go turn the ball over on downs. The 4th down was Jimmy G got sacked, but he did this ugly throw towards Mostert, landed at his feet. It kind of was the game at that point. But Damian Williams was making his case for MVP at this point. He gets the handoff and takes it to the house, 38 yards to go up 31-20. That would be the game. I mean, I think at that moment we all thought the game was over. I think that I mean, once it was a 2-score game, I think that we all realized it was too much for the Niners to come back. I thought that with Mahomes' struggles through 3 quarters, that Damian Williams should have been MVP. I thought it would have been a great story as an undrafted running back winning Super Bowl MVP. I understand giving it to the quarterback, but do you think Damian Williams would have been a respectable MVP in this game?
You could definitely make the case for it. He picked up a lot of crucial first downs throughout the entire game, and that really kept the chains moving and really kept the Chiefs in the game in the first half and even a little
Mm-hmm.
bit towards the third quarter. Um, that touchdown run to really cement the game, I felt like the 49ers defense just gave up. I mean, they
Yeah.
kind of mailed it in at that point,
Mm-hmm.
which was disappointing because, you want to play till the last second of the game. And I know people were complaining about, well, why is Shanahan using his, timeouts? Do you really want to be the head coach of the losing team and you still had 3 timeouts at the end of the game. Like,
And 2 before halftime, you pocketed 5 or 6 timeouts.
yeah, I mean, use them. It's not going to hurt anything. The game's already decided, but you got 3 timeouts. Use them and try to show that you still have faith in your team, even though you're not coming back. The whole game had that vibe.
Yeah. So just some stats for Damian Williams that I thought were impressive. He had 17 carries for 104 yards and a touchdown. He also had, which I think is a valuable stat for a running back, he had 4 catches for 29 yards and that touchdown catch. So I think he was, Tyreek Hill had a great game too. He had 9 for 105. But as far as like consistent playmaking throughout the entire game, look no further than Damian Williams. I think he was the most consistent part of this game for the Chiefs. I don't hate giving it to Mahomes. Obviously, he made the key plays here in the second half. The Chiefs would outscore the Niners in the third quarter 21-0. And that brings us to our next segment, which I know that you and I have a disagreement on here. So I hope that this leads to something good. Who is more to blame in this Super Bowl loss here, Matthew? Is it Jimmy Garoppolo or is it Kyle Shanahan?
My opinion, and it's definitely close. You can make a case for either one of these guys, in my opinion, but it's Jimmy G, because you can't miss throws like that to win the game. You can't miss Kittle on that third down and throw it to Samuel. You can't throw behind your wide receivers. I mean, the biggest thing that was glaring to me this entire game was Jimmy G didn't give his wide receivers a chance to get that yak. I mean, for those who don't know, it's yards after catch. He threw the ball in some awful spots to really limit what could happen after the catch. The interception to Breland was egregious at best. He got hit, closed his eyes, and just threw up a duck. At that point, just take the sack. You live to fight another down. And not penalties, but plays like that get you killed in games like these. You have to protect the football. Flip field position. I mean, he gave the Chiefs such a short field to work with. It didn't make sense to throw that pass. Get down, protect yourself. As wrestling fans would like to say, go into business for yourself at that point. But Hulk Hogan knows a lot about going into business for himself.
Sure does. I love it.
But just too many dumb things, and I kind of preluded it in the podcast we did last week. He turned into the pumpkin I knew he was going to be. I mean, he played okay, and he made some really nice throws. He's got immense arm talent, but his decision-making is freaking awful. I can't get over how dumb his decisions can be throughout the course of a game. With that defense and that running game, he's protected, and he still can't win you a football game. So, I mean, people will reference the Saints game. Okay, you know what? He threw for a ton of yards. He threw for a bunch of touchdowns. Congratulations. But that's a regular season game. The playoffs, you saw it in the Packers game. He threw the ball 8 times. The Vikings game, I wasn't overly impressed with them. Raheem Morset basically won them that game as well. It's a running back. I'm not impressed. Kyle Shanahan put Jimmy Garoppolo in positions to win the game, which a head coach should do. If you believe in your quarterback, you put them in positions to win the football game. He called really good plays. You saw open receivers. Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't hit them. At the end of the day, this loss squarely falls on Garoppolo.
I think that is a very good argument on your part. But for me, I think without question, Kyle Shanahan has known all season long who Jimmy Garoppolo is. I think in the past, you've seen guys like Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson. Nick Foles got insanely hot to win a Super Bowl, Joe Flacco, but like those guys did it in the air. But good coaches have won Super Bowls with great defenses and great running games. And I think that the Niners were perfectly set up to do this, considering how much they dominated the NFC Championship game. And like you mentioned, Jimmy Garoppolo only throwing the ball 8 times. Now, I'm not saying if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, please just don't watch this next segment, because if you did not know, Kyle Shanahan was the primary play caller for the Atlanta Falcons in Super Bowl 51 just 3 years ago. So in that game, I don't know if you don't know this. In the third quarter, the Falcons were up 28-3 on their New England Patriots, um, and I just want to give you the total rushing attempts for the Falcons was 18 in that game, and they ran the ball for 104 yards, and they averaged nearly 6 yards per carry. And at one point in the game, Julio Jones sets them up at the 33-yard line in field goal range, and then Kyle Shanahan goes pass, 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 and then fumble by Matt Ryan, and all they had to do is run the ball 3 times, kick a field goal, and they are Super Bowl champions. And I'm sorry, like I said, Falcons fans and Niner fans, you are now come together for me. It's not as egregious as a blown loss here, but rushing plays for the San Francisco 49ers in this game, 22, 141 rushing yards. They averaged 6.5 yards a carry. What are you doing? Why are you throwing the ball 31 times to Jimmy Garoppolo when you know you've seen it all year? You know exactly who he is. You know your defense is good enough. They'd give Pat Mahomes trouble all year long. All game long, I should say. To me, Kyle Shanahan, to not learn from your previous mistakes, to not understand that you were in this situation just 3 years ago. You are responsible, as far as I'm concerned, for the greatest choke in Super Bowl history. You blew a 25-point lead in a quarter because of your lack of understanding of running the ball and controlling the clock and time of possession. When you have great running games, like you have great offensive lines, you don't even have great running backs, but you don't need great running backs to have a great running game. I've been saying that. It's why the Giants picking Saquon was just baffling to me. Whatever. It's not the point. You run the ball like this is who you are. You have a great defense. You control the clock. You don't even give Patrick Mahomes the chance to beat you. But Kyle Shanahan could not control himself. He couldn't help himself. He needed Jimmy Garoppolo to win MVP of this game. That's what he wanted. He's like, I'm going to go out the way I want to go out. He's the same way he wanted Matt Ryan to win MVP of that game. And
well,
to me,
to cut you off there, Randy, I'm going to take minor issue with the Falcons one, because unlike Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Ryan was actually MVP of the league that year.
He was.
And you had Julio Jones, you had Mohamed Sanu. I mean, you had options in the backfield. Interestingly enough, I believe Tevin Coleman was on that Falcons team as well. That was by Shanahan. I mean, I don't take much issue with Shanahan going with his bread and butter with the Falcons, with throwing the football, which is fine. I mean, you got Julio Jones. Was Tony Gonzalez on that team still, or did he retire that year?
No, but Hooper was still on the team then, so it's still a decent tight end situation there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not taking major issue with this. I see your point with this game. I mean, to not target Kittle on an out route, I mean, to me, that's more egregious play calling. Not putting Kittle on the edges and getting him some yards to throw to an easy target, make some easy throws. Yeah. I think the Chiefs were playing a little bit more stout against the run. I know on one of those I think it was the third to last series for the 49ers. Morstead had a 5-yard carry on first down, and then it went pass, and obviously incomplete, and then they punted the ball away. Yeah. You know, you're not giving your team a great chance for success by doing that, but it kind of felt like the Chiefs kind of tightened up the run defense a little bit in the second half.
I mean, I would like to think that, but they ran the ball 22 times. You know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it felt like they ran the ball 5 times in the fourth quarter. You have a 10-point lead. The clock is the thing that is your friend here in this situation. Like, if you have the ball and you're controlling the clock, the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes don't have the ball, they cannot score. It's you know, just as old as football is, that strategy. And to me, I think this was a borderline coaching malpractice by Kyle Shanahan to do your bread and butter that got you to this situation. I mean, I'm not like, I shouldn't compare it to the Falcons for that reason. You said Matt Ryan was MVP of the league. They had a great passing game and all that, but I just think that they have been so dominant with the running game. They set the playoff record for rushing the game before. And Mostert had the 49ers record for rushing the game before. I just think that they completely got away from who they were. And I'm like all into this win probability stuff, which is like, it's not all end all be all, obviously, because like in the Falcons game, they had a 97% chance of winning in the fourth quarter when they were up 18. And then in this game, they had over a 95% chance of winning, especially after that Mahomes interception in the red zone. They blew this game, man. Mahomes helps. I think Mahomes catching fire in the fourth quarter and doing what Mahomes does certainly helps. But they helped that happen. And I think Kyle Shanahan, I mean, I know he said he had no regrets and he hasn't changed his opinion on Jimmy Garoppolo after the game, which says a lot about Jimmy Garoppolo to me. Like, he knew who he was and it doesn't change his thought about him. Okay, so why did you put him in that situation to fail? Why didn't you do what you have been so good at all year? It drives me crazy, you know? I think I obviously was rooting for the Chiefs. I'm very happy the Chiefs won, but to me, the Niners totally blew this game.
Yeah, and to go back to, I mean, I keep on referencing, and remember last week when I asked Henry if I told you Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 45 times, would that be a 49ers win or a loss? I
Mm-hmm.
thought the number in my head was if Jimmy Garoppolo throws the ball more than 27 times, I think it's a loss for the
Mm-hmm.
49ers because, to your point, they're getting away from what brought them there. You know,
Yeah.
you're a running football team, run the football, and Garoppolo throwing the ball 31 times equaled disaster in my mind and kind of
Mm-hmm.
came to fruition.
Yeah, for sure. For time's sake here, let's move on. I think we've covered the game, basically every aspect. I think that you are that's your expertise is breaking down X's and O's and truly understanding the game. So job well done on that. As far as now, you know, we're going to talk about a little bit of the Super Bowls of the past here, which I think is ironic because I believe Super Bowl 42 is playing behind me on the NFL Network. The best day of my life, really. But I want to know who of all the players here on the Chiefs staff of the Kansas City Chiefs, who are you most happiest for after this win?
Oh, it's absolutely Andy Reid.
Mm-hmm.
A first-class human being. I know he's dealt with the loss of a son, which I couldn't even imagine what it was like, and a lot of people attribute that or said some pretty nasty things about Reed during that time, saying, well, if he cared more about his son than he did football, maybe his son would still be alive, which is completely unfair. Um,
Yeah.
family life is complicated, as everyone knows, but for all the struggles and all the criticisms and everything that Andy Reid did, and I kind of felt through the first half that Andy Reid should have been the MVP because he did anti-Andy Reid things, going for it on
Mm-hmm.
4th and 1 inside the red zone, inside the 10. He wanted to get touchdowns. He didn't want to, settle for field goals, and he didn't leave anything to his imagination. I mean, he called all the plays that he called, and I'm very happy for Andy Reid.
Yeah, I think that's the consensus, but just for sake of being different, one guy we haven't even mentioned this whole time, which is a travesty on our part, is Tyrann Mathieu. Was he really? He did some things in college that were questionable, and obviously plummeted his draft stock. He wasn't picked until the third round. But he seemed like to me he started changing his life for the better and doing things the right way. And then when he finally reached the peak of his powers in the NFL, he tears his ACL, never really gets that max contract. But then he bets on himself. He goes, I'm going to sign with a contender. I'm going to go to the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to change their defense, and we're going to win a Super Bowl. And to his credit, I think me and you agree that he was the most important player. He was voted team MVP for the whole team, more than Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that says everything to me, how important he was to that team. So everything Tyrann Mathieu has been through, Honey Badger, one of the coolest nicknames for a player in the sport. Could not be happier for him. Obviously, really happy for Andy Reid. I'm glad it happened with a team not named the Eagles. Uh, so I think Andy Reid is slamming some buffets this week. The Eagles is a good transition for our next part. Is who are we most happiest for amongst our rivals when they won a Super Bowl? Now, this is an interesting question because you're a Bears fan, so obviously you've seen the Packers win a couple, but you've never really seen the Lions or Vikings win any. So this is probably limited to one team for you.
Yeah, it's limited, but this one's a slam dunk easy. I mean, it's Reggie White. To see such a
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Fame human being, Hall of Fame player, just everything about Reggie White was, exuded a quality person. And to see him cement his legacy as probably one of the top 5 defensive players that ever lived was amazing. Granted, it was the Packers that won it, but overall, I was very happy. So it made good television and made me somewhat happy.
Yeah, I think we both are fans of teams in these story divisions with rich histories. But the problem is I am just 28 years old, and many of the Cowboys championship victories happened when I was just a small child or before I was born. So I don't remember the Cowboys as Super Bowl champions, and quite frankly, I love this life. I never want to live in a world where Cowboys are Super Bowl champions. And I know they've won 5. Obviously, I can't take that away, but I don't remember them. So that's nice. The Redskins have won 3. Like similarly, though, the last time they won was the year I was born. I don't like the Redskins haven't been very good at all for most of my life. So for me, the only Super Bowl rival that I've had is the Eagles, and to me, I wasn't very happy about it. I was rooting for the Patriots, so I never root for
Oh
any Boston
no.
team. But well, like to me, I wanted Eli to be the only guy to beat them, and I want, you know, there was something in it for me. But I tried to think about this, like who was I happy for? Like I wasn't happy at all for anyone. But I believe Darren Sproles was on the roster, and I think that guy has kind of changed the way a lot of teams use running backs, and I think he's been a great pass catching, playmaking running back for a long time. I really liked him on the Chargers and on the Saints. And I really like Chris Long too. As Chris Long has developed a career post football, I was happy for him to win a ring there too. I know they're not like Hall of Fame names. Like I'm not going to be happy for really any of them. I really despise the Eagles with every fiber of my being, but if I had to choose, I would say it's a combination of those two guys. All right, so we're gonna wrap up here, but you know, football, believe it or not, Matthew, not over. Are you excited for the debut of the revamped XFL today?
Actually, I am. I'm going to catch some of these games. You know what? I love the rules. I love the phasing out of the kicker. That's the most exciting part for this for me. Get rid of the kicking for the extra point. Let's go. On the 2-yard line, I think it's 1 point, 5 yard, it's 2, 10 yards, it's a 3-point conversion after a touchdown. I'm all for this, man. I'm hyped up, ready to go.
I love the excitement. I mean, we can get into more of the rules and more of the teams and everything, but I'm certainly excited to watch some football, some different kind of football. I'm excited to see how it shakes out because I remember how exciting it was back in 2001 when it originally launched. All right, before we say goodbye, Matthew, gun to your head right now, who is playing in Super Bowl 55?
Kansas City Chiefs, Chicago Bears.
Oh, he went the homer route. I'm so disappointed that Mitch Trubisky could be playing in a Super Bowl. God, I would hate that.
Well, hold on. I didn't say Trubisky now.
Oh, okay.
I did not say that, and I'm not ready to commit to a quarterback yet.
All right, well, I think they've committed to Trubisky, whether you have or not. So, but I guess Jimmy Garoppolo just played in the Super Bowl, so it doesn't really matter now, does it? Sorry, 49ers fans. Sorry, cheap shot. To me, I'm going to go with an exciting matchup here between two quarterbacks I love to watch. I'm going to go the Seattle Seahawks against the Baltimore Ravens. I would love that game.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
I would love that game. I'd love that quarterback matchup. Two veteran head coaches. I think that would be a hell of a game. All right. So thank you all for waking up early with us here in Football Life for the 5th edition of the Deep Thirds Football Podcast. Matt and I will be back probably next week with some off-season chatter and maybe some pre-draft stuff, and maybe we'll come up with some interesting talking points. And feel free to ask us give us some ideas. What do you got, Matt?
XFL. We got XFL to talk about.
We got some XFL to talk about. It's a good point. We will be breaking down the XFL. I'm excited to watch today. Like I said, it's going to be good. Stay tuned for an hour from now. In Ball is Life, the debut of the Step Back podcast, where myself, yes, I'm pulling double duty today. I'm going to be joined by Leon Tompkins and Jacob Moses. We're going to be breaking down all things NBA, the All-Star selections. The trade deadline was exciting for the NBA for once. And, of course, we'll probably talk about Kobe Bryant a little bit as well. All right, guys. It was a pleasure talking to you guys this morning. Matt, as always, take care.